Hello, sir.
A very good afternoon, evening, and welcome to everyone in the community.
Keep down a bit because I don't want to get in the way of the camera.
Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right, tell us who you are and what you do, because
Wow.
it's pretty mind-blowing.
It's pretty mind-blowing. Well, it's pretty mind-blowing for me, really. I guess my first thing to say is to everyone that listens to your podcast, you are not alone. Okay. There's a growing network of people out there around the globe that are stepping forward to support the community that aren't in the community. I'm aware of an awful lot of people. I came into it on the 10th of January this year when I was driving my van moving house from Milton Keynes up to Derby. I had planned to listen to a movie on YouTube called The Spellers movie, and I kind of put it on the audio and listened to it whilst driving. I did kind of 9 trips over a weekend back up and down to Derby and listened to that and a podcast. And at the end of it, if I'm honest, 48 minutes in, I remember the time I pulled my van over on the M1 and cried my eyes out. Wow. And I find it really hard just talking about that because I listened to a movie that was about autistic non-speaking children that could communicate by literally pointing to individual letters in a stencil board. And these 8 children that were featured in the movie just said, "I'm in here." They were their first words. And it blew me away, and I had this massive surge of, I've got to do something, and I need to help. I hadn't a clue what I was going to do, and I didn't know what was coming. But where are we? January to December, 11 months later, I've read more than 120 books authored by spelling non-speakers and their parents, or co-authored. I've watched pretty much every YouTube video that I could find, every talking book. I've joined probably 20 plus autism groups that allow me to access, because I don't have a child, allow me to access, and I've read every post for 11 months. I wake up most mornings at 4 o'clock, and I do at least 3 hours reading and studying and as much research as I can. And it's made me realise that all these children that are writing books, they have no reason to lie. Like, it's not like they're trying to sell anything. So what's in there is the truth from them. And in there is absolute magic. And I mean magic in the terms of there are children writing with their parents and spelling letter by letter. Like, they're not using ChatGPT here. It's literally letter by letter to communicate information that each one of you in this room and listening to the podcast, you'll know that your child has done in some way. But you think it's unique. But I've read the books and it's common. Like, you know when your child needs something and you sense it. And that's known by everybody. But because it's unique in your house, because you only have one child, or may have 2, but it's not common, you kind of just go, a bit coincidence. What I discovered when reading all of these books was that spelling by using a stencil cutout letterboard and enabling gross motor skills to point to those letters means that every child, when they learn to do it, and here's the kicker, okay? No one has ever failed to do it. No one. It has 100% success rate. Now, everyone kind of frowns at that point and goes, well, why doesn't I know about it? Well, why doesn't the world know about it? That's why I cried my eyes out in my van, because I thought, who's going to tell this story? Who's going to carry this forwards and help every parent of every non-speaker to just presume competence in their child and have belief that they can do it, and give them the opportunity and share the kind of love that parents have with their kids to enable this thing to happen. If it's happened 100% of the time, what's the worst thing that can happen if you try? Like, the alphabet has got 26 letters. I got that wrong the other day when I was talking to someone. It's got 26 letters in it. The entire internet is created from 26 letters. Give your children the opportunity to communicate with it. That's the world. That's what we do. And that's only the starter point. And that's kind of it. That's where my passion comes from. Reading the books, assimilating the information, turning it into 5-minute read articles, created a Facebook group where I could post the articles called Presume Competence. And it's just the stuff I posted. People comment about it and see it and read it, pass it on. The comments on it are amazing and most days bring me to tears because people are discovering that it's there and that they can find a practitioner. The challenge we have in the UK is there are currently, I think, 18 practitioners around the UK. There's one gentleman in the audience who's the luckiest man in the room because he lives in Wrexham and he's got 2 people in Wrexham. James is somewhere around here. Yeah, there he is over there. And they're scattered around the rest of the country, but they teach people to teach autistic non-speakers to communicate using letterboards, and the world opens up for them. And it's jaw-dropping. I sat in June with a young guy called Paddy Curran, a non-speaker from Birmingham, and I was lucky and very privileged to sit down for an hour with him and spell, literally holding up a board, and he communicated with me by spelling letter to letter. We had a conversation, and I'm trying really hard not to cry my eyes out now because I feel the difference between that conversation and where most people in the room are now. That imagine the magic of being able to have that. And then imagine the words that can come through, because every single child is already at the level of their age inside. You know it. You genuinely know it. You just have that last bit you've got to cross to get to that presume competence, belief, love, and then the wow moment. Because when you watch the Spellers movie, that's what I cried at. It was the moment the parents sat in the background watching the Speller for the first time, and their arm moved to answer a question, and they typed the answer to the question, and the parents are just like, what?
Yeah.
I drove my car. I can't remember the episode number. I wish I'd made a note of it before it came. But I was driving my car, again on the M1, and you guys were on. And I was listening to the first moment that Thomas had sent a text message.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about it.
Do you remember the text message when he put... no, it wasn't... He put, nah, something... Do you remember? He put... You'd sent it me. And it was like, nah, juice, or something like that. But the nah was, but he typed out juice. It was that bit.
And here's what happened. I screamed at the loudest possible voice. I can't really swear as loud as I did on that one, but I was like, for fuck's sake, I need to speak to you.
Yeah.
He can communicate. The door's opening. Miracles are on their way. That's what I said.
Yeah, well,
genuinely what I said.
You sent a message quite quick after that.
Yep.
In fact, you'd messaged before that, and admittedly, because we get a lot of messages, a lot of them are because people are trying to get some kind of commercial benefit from, hey, we've got something really interesting for you. We're like, yeah, how much money do you want? So initially, when you sent that message, and you're like, there's a Facebook group, I was like, this looks great. And I was like, this can't just be as simple as this. And then that had happened, and he messaged again, and he was almost going, for fuck's sake, I don't want your money, just read this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't know you were coming today until you turned up, and then you were here. I was over the moon.
Yep.
So, and there's nothing in this for you. You've come from outside in, so you don't even have a direct connection with any family members with autism.
Nope.
It's just something that you just...
All that level of research.
Was thinking it.
But
he was going
there
deep.
might be a little bit of autism there. Regimentally waking up at 4 a.m.
I get up at 4, and then I do this for 3 hours straight before I start.
I think everybody here was like,
yeah,
you have got a link to autism potentially.
Yeah.
But on a serious,
but no child, obviously.
yeah. But on a serious note, the is it the presumed competence?
Yeah.
That is massive. We've talked about that before. We've all seen clips of autistic teenagers or adults when they've been talking to their parents and they have become verbal, for instance, or communicated. They've always said, I was in there, I was trying to communicate with you, I thought I was communicating with you and you just weren't picking it up.
Yeah.
So that presumed competence is a real big thing.
And as parents, we don't do it because obviously we're trying to protect ourselves from...
We said this earlier.
You want something to happen,
You
and
defend
you're worried
yourself.
about-
I won't presume too much competence because I'll just get upset and it's all about me again, isn't it?
Yeah.
When absolutely.
There's so because I've read so many books, there are some that come to mind that are really easy reads and quick. One of them is a book called Underestimated by J.B. Handley. His son features in the Spellers movie, and he's a guy that got to the end of his belief in anything, in being able to find his son inside. He's kind of settled on the it is what it is space. And then a friend of his who put their child into a spelling program, and I say a spelling program, they'd gone and done a session, like it was a session, and they sent him a text message, and he was like, bullshit. No. And then he was like, held it up and was like, well, I trust him, but really? And then, he must be a miracle child, right? And this is the bit that kind of catches me every time, is there is a speller in every town in the UK, right? There is a speller in every town in the UK. They're there somewhere because there are 4 methods that have been around for nearly 20 years, right? But because there's no academic proof and there's no, academia will strive to show it doesn't work. They won't strive that it works. It's not a system that's set up like that. Because you will all think, oh my goodness, it's a 1 in a million child. No, they're everywhere. Next year, I will create a Presume Competence Day where there will be videos from every parent telling every other parent in the UK why they should discover this and what it's done to their family. Why? Because I will create the Presume Competence piece that enables there to be a spelling practitioner in every town or city in the UK, which means that no one will have to drive more than 30 minutes to get there. That's my commitment from the outside, purely as a philanthropic effort to get there. I've created in the process of creating a no-cost, low-cost website called presumecompetence.co.uk. The idea of that is just that you can find the resources, you can find the articles, you can read it. You can then, when it's set up, there'll be video content there of how to do these things. It's all free. The whole point is there's no cost to learning. It's so easy. And you can understand what the progress is.
Autistic related that is free would be amazing.
Okay, let me give you a bit of a shock. Okay, so September 2025, there are 205,182 people waiting for a diagnosis. 90% of them are more than 13 weeks, and the average wait is 16 months. Okay, that means that every day that passes, there are more people on the list, making the list longer. Okay, so there's no more resources being allocated to make it move faster. It's only going to get worse. Okay, so the National Autistic Society has an income of £99.8 million last year. Okay, go to their annual report, read page 4. You'll see how many people they claim to have helped. The number doesn't match £99.6 million. It's very, very small by comparison. Okay, there's an awful lot of money that helps not a lot of people, according to their annual report. Okay, that's the injustice I saw. NICE recommends that you should be seen within 13 weeks. The average is 16 months. The gentleman that spoke before me was like, I was sitting there just thinking, oh my goodness, this is everything. The system doesn't allow it. So how do we change the system? That's the important part. The system doesn't change with politicians, it changes with the administration people that support it. They're the people that control this. The decision makers, the decisions are made by the politicians, but they're all gone in, well, depends on how long governments last. But those people it's just a revolving door. So what has to change is the way the parents of the people who need the help the most, how they access what's available to get the best outcome. You guys have talked about it numerous times, and everyone in this room will have as well, that it's about now, but it's also about that feeling of when I'm not here, what next? What's going to happen? Well, that's what has to happen now. The work to change that has to change. It has to be done so that the systems are in place to support those people. The world has a lot of new people coming to support the category from outside the category. Many of them are doing this because they know it's the right thing to do. I'm coming to it because I just saw the opportunity to not just press pause on a podcast and stop listening. You know, the passion is in the information that the spellers have given and that have written books, which is one thing. That then has enabled me to be able to tell the stories and to help people to understand what can be done. Like, a spelling board is the world's cheapest education device. The effort to learn how to use it, to understand co-regulation as a parent, to understand apraxia and how the brain-body disconnect works or doesn't work, and how all of the inputs of the senses come into understanding what's going on inside your child from the inside out, not the way the system looks at it from the outside in. Everyone can do that. It doesn't take many of those 5-minute reads on the Presume Competence page for you to go, I didn't think about it like that. Maybe if I regulate myself and then see what happens, maybe that might help change something. And just try it and see. Because that's all I've done in reading, just seeing that's what works, that's why it works, that's how it works. And I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm passionate about this.
Can tell.
And I kind of saw the opportunity to reach out and then reach much further with what can be achieved. Because yes, I've said it, I've recorded it, you guys are going to broadcast it. Now I put my own flag in the ground and gone, I've got to deliver this. Because if every parent in the UK saw a video of another parent saying, you should do this, I've done it, look what difference it made to me, that's like parental endorsement, not commercial endorsement. Then I've got to get the system that enables parents to become learners of a method, and I've got to provide the method resource for free. That's easy. AI can help with a huge amount of that. You know, we don't have to do a massive amount of video recording of people. We can just type in the words that need to be used, edit it to the right bit, and you can see how to do it. There are no secrets in this. If you go to the website communicationforall.org, then that's Elizabeth Bonker as a non-speaker who did a commencement speech at her passing out. No, it's not called passing out. When you get a degree, I've forgotten the word. Thank you. Graduation. It was viewed 4 billion times.
Wow.
Right. A non-speaker communicated using spelling boards prior, then put it into audio, and it was spoken. 4 billion views from a non-speaker. Right. Then she created an organisation that gives away all the how to use spelling boards for free. All we've got to do is direct people to those, and then you can get started. Because I feel like it's a miracle moment talking to you guys and talking to the audience, because you as parents can deliver your own miracle in your own house with your own child to your own family. Like that doesn't come along every day. You know? And I want to thank you for the opportunity to let me talk and explain it. There's a whole host more stuff that I know, and that I even chip in when you guys are talking on your podcast, going, you should know this. It's an amazing thing to have discovered and to have learned, but my learning only comes from the kids that spell. That's it.
Amazing. That's
the world could do with more of you, mate.
I've been trying to clone myself, but I don't know. It hasn't worked yet.
If you can, mate, just as a dad, mate, everything you're doing, you don't have to do it. So thank you. And sometimes it needs an outside perspective of someone looking in that isn't a parent. Sometimes when you're a parent, like the stuff that Thomas does, and we try and sell it to another parent, very easily another parent could go, yeah, but my kid won't do that. Whereas sometimes someone looking outwards in, because I mean, I wrote Thomas off very early on. You know, in fact, you probably did a bit more than me. Yeah. And he's just blown us away the last 12 months.
The age of 3, I think like Lydia's age as well, I really struggled with, because developing, but our communication wasn't. So the meltdowns were just intense and frequent and a lot, and we were both just clashing. And I mean, in lockdown, I said to you, and I was like, "You're gonna have to quit work because I cannot be in the house with him on my own. It's too hard." I get emotional.
Yeah.
And so to see him
Now he's like, juice. And we're like, cool. I mean, he's got his AAC device. He could just hit the squares, the tiles. In fact, that would be easier. He doesn't. He goes, nah, keyboard. And he spells. And we're like, fucking.
So what I have to say about that, and this is kind of a little bit controversial, but this is kind of like,
I like controversial.
If you step back for a moment, so you guys are familiar with computers and hertz rates, aren't you? Okay. So refresh rates on a screen. When you have a electronic device, it refreshes the picture 50 hertz or 100 times a second. Okay?
The human eye can't pick it up.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. So this is a key part. This is a key part, right? Your children have an ability that you're not aware of. Okay. They see things differently. They don't need to look at things. They have complete vision in both eyes, right? At a high definition level. So when you look at a screen, it's doing this 100 times a second, okay? 2 different lots of information are going on the screen 100 times a second. That causes a real challenge in concentration to concentrate on that image. Now let's start with an AAC device and say it's got a picture, words, and letters. Got 3 things they've got to try and work out what it is. Now,
while the refresh rate
whilst the refresh rate's going, okay? And it's got blue light.
Yeah.
So we all know what blue light does for neurotypical people. I had to check my words in because that's one of the landmines I sometimes tread on, okay? So that it's different. But because we're looking from the outside in, we only think tech works for us, you know? But that tech is like, it's doing this. So it might work, but the challenge is most people are not aware of optical dyspraxia. So in the room, you've got, in your audience, many of, not saying the majority, but to the information that I've got, it's more than 60% of autistic non-speakers specifically have optical dyspraxia. So for example, the people in the room and the cameras might not pick this up, but I can control my 2 individual eyes like this.
Okay? It was weird.
So I can move my eyes independently, right? Most autistic people, children, the majority of them have independent control of the eye. So 2 images are going on the background of their eye. I see double all the time. I can see double of this audience, okay? So your images are about 30 degrees separated and doubled for me, okay? I can block out, because I learned how to do it when I was 13, I can block out one of the images, but if I get tired, suddenly there are 2. But there's also a third, which is the overlap image, and that's strobes, okay? Many autistics that can then spell, when they're able to spell and have a conversation about eyesight, explain this. It can be diagnosed, but you don't go to a optician to get this bit done, okay? If you threw me a tennis ball from the back now, I won't be able to catch it. I don't see in 3D. I can have a go at trying to catch the one that I think I'm trying to catch, but I'm not likely to. Does this sound familiar to anyone? With your children? Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like one of those things. You look and you see it's not happening. Okay, so that's one of the senses. Okay, I can throw you more and more and more out. Headphones. Everybody knows that. Neurodivergent children often wear headphones because sound is a real problem. Okay? The ear hears between, the neurotypical ear hears between 20 hertz and 20,000. 20 hertz is really deep, and 20,000 is super high. Okay? Autistic children hear way beyond that spectrum, like right down to the less than ones. Okay? So in a room, in any environment apart from outside, okay, in an open grassy area, they can hear literally everything. Now, I have an audio issue, similar, which is I can hear all of the noises in this room at the same level, not volume. So if I'm in a crowded room, I kind of have to lean on my arm like this and cup my ear to be able to hear the person that's talking. And I thought I had a hearing problem. Went and checked it out, no problem whatsoever. And I realised that I can hear multiple sounds at the same level. And when I came into this category, I suddenly realised, aha, that's what's going on. Like, you guys can hear the fan above you. Yeah. I can hear the refrigerators in the back of this room, right, at the same level as the noise, but not the same volume. It's an input that is kind of creating a mist of noise in my ears. When you put a noise reduction headphone or a muffled headphone, children become much better regulated. Not completely, but much better than they were. Why? Because they can hear Wi-Fi. Like, it's a frequency. The transformers on this Christmas tree, same thing. Imagine all of that noise going in at once. That's what overloads their sensory system. There's an article in the Presume Competence site called the 6 buckets of regulations. 6 buckets of regulation, which is each sense is like a bucket. So sight is a bucket, above the bucket is a tap. The information that goes into the sight bucket, the tap turns on. There's more information going in. So it might be fluorescent lights, it might be lots of people, lots of colours, lots of things moving. That bucket, along with all the others, can fill up really quickly. Every person's bucket is a different size, and the tap is different depending on the environment. So the tap can turn in and overflow the bucket. You've got 5 of them. Underneath the bucket, that is an emotion bucket. Okay? So what happens is the sight bucket overflows, it fills the emotion bucket really quickly, and what happens next? There's a meltdown. What we don't do, because the sound isn't affecting us, or the sight isn't affecting us, or whatever sense isn't affecting us, we don't see that from we see that from the outside in, not the inside out. So if you're aware of that sensory input, you can see the opportunity for a meltdown and avoiding it in advance. You guys know that. You all know to not go to certain places. There are other places where stimulation is required in order to regulate. There was a lady that was talking earlier on to me who was explaining gentleman was explaining going to Disneyland and going on the rides and roller coasters, and it kind of regulated their child for like a week afterwards. because the stimulation was so much that they managed to regulate themselves somehow. And I said, one of the challenges I've got is said, how about it wasn't just the child regulating, how about it was you and your family? Because you weren't worrying about the bus, the bill, all the things that are negative and pressing down on you during that time. You were actually having a good time and you were playing. Another one was another person I spoke to today that was talking about how their child loved going to the swimming pool. You all know that they love going to the swimming pool. Okay, it's common across everybody, guys. It's because it's a regulation method. It's in hundreds of books. They all talk about it. Go to the seaside, go to the sea, get in the water, get in a swimming pool. It's like a regulation method, but it's not prescribed. Like, imagine that, being prescribed to go swimming to the swimming pool to help with regulation. Why? Because it's like a firm pressure on the body all over. And you know that's one of the methods of regulation because you use hugging to do that. So swimming pool, same thing. And in the bath, Epsom salts and bath, and that's another one that helps really well. So in all of these books, there are hundreds of examples. I'm just working my way through, writing the articles, making sure they're correct, getting them validated with parents, making sure... what was the name of the gentleman that spoke about spitting earlier on?
Oh, was it Sean?
Sean, okay, Sean, sorry, thank you, Sean. Your spitting comment will be turned into an article like tonight on my way home, right? Because I've read it everywhere and no one knows. Like, I had a eureka moment, sat there and just was like, of course, it's age related. How didn't I see that? Because everyone talks about it when it happens, but no one ever tells you when it stops. No one ever says how old their child was when it stopped. And what they found out.
We say when it happens, but we don't put an end date on it.
Sometimes you don't even know when the end date is, though, because unless you're watching for it, sometimes it might even be a crazy stim that Thomas does, for example. It's not until you go back and go, bloody hell, do you remember that when he did this? You don't actually remember it stopping. You only remember going through it at the time.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say overall, like I could talk for hours and hours about this.
my cameras won't let you.
But it's been an amazing experience to listen to the podcast, to hear all the information that you have, to be that rawness that is the truth of everyday life, and also the little moments that you have where you share something that means a lot to the people that are listening, but it means as much, if not more, from my perspective, because I've heard it, and I now know that it's something from someone local, like national in the UK, that I can talk to and ask a few more questions to go, okay, this seems to be a common thing. Is this something that's happening? Here's an answer from people that have said it around the world that could help with this.
Yeah.
Why? Because if your children can use 26 letters on a spelling board and spell any word they want to, isn't that better than limiting them to the requirements of a device? Like, that's how simple it is.
Yeah.
When they progress from a spelling board, they can go eventually to a keyboard that's supported by somebody else to regulate it. And then maybe they can get to a typing capacity independently. That's a journey that requires a massive amount of motor modeling through different methodologies that enable that motor process to happen. And it has to always be regulated or co-regulated until it doesn't need to be. But it's not a complicated way to explain it, but it involves a little bit of brain science. But it's all about myelinated motor. So it's how the motor pathway is built. If you practice with your children and build some physical weighted, like a wrist weight, putting a wrist weight on your child so that they can feel their hand in space. Okay. So there are different senses that apply to different types of things. So knowing where you are in the world and knowing where your arm is, that's a sense that's not fully functioning. Time is another one. So here's one that's out there a bit, and excuse me if you'll enjoy this one. Okay. Okay. How do I explain this to start with?
Wait. 37 minutes.
Okay.
You can't have 37 minutes.
Sorry, I'm going to do this will be the last one. So you know that you'll have to help me out because I can't remember what they're called. You know when you write a routine down and you have it on a board and it helps regulate how would you describe it? It helps what?
Visual time.
Okay, schedule and time.
Yeah, like it's setting out expectations essentially.
Okay, right. Yeah. So imagine this for a moment. This is going to sound absolutely off the wall, but stick with me.
Go on.
Okay. Imagine that you had no perception of time. Okay, if you had no perception of time, today, tomorrow, an hour, anything else. If you have no perception of time, then the thing on the wall tells you what's next, doesn't it? Mm. Okay, so you're in the car, you're driving to a roundabout that you always go round, and instead of going this direction, suddenly you go that direction. What would that be like if you had no sense of time? Would it feel like you're being kidnapped?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really sharp answer instantly, okay? So imagine that's what causes the dysregulation. Now imagine that in every environment where you don't know what's going to happen to you because you have no perception of time, instead of it being about something else. Okay, so just throw that out there and consider it. Okay, because if you can consider it, then it's potentially you looking from the inside out rather than the outside in. And there are lots of examples like that, but it's a really hard one to get your head around. But if you can kind of see that oh my goodness, that makes sense in what I see when we don't follow the same routine. Okay, so I've also, from spellers, although we see our hand going up right in front of us, because we have the ability to sense our hand in space. That's not something they have until you put a weight on that hand and the muscle has to work. Then they realize that the muscle's doing something different in the arm, which sends a message to the brain that tells the brain that might be their arm. Like, they don't know it's their arm because they have apraxia. So they have a brain-body disconnect. It's like, there's an article called the apraxia, the two-body controller. Imagine a puppet in front of me, and it's got two sets of strings. Okay, the one on the left side here is the person, the child, and their brain control to their body. Okay, so they can move that. Okay, and then there's what we call the apraxic controller, this side, which is the system of how the body works on its own without the brain, the mind working it. Okay, and you can say this twice to the same child. I'll use Thomas as an example. Thomas, go and sit on the chair. And one time he'll do it, and another time he won't. But imagine if that's the strings here. He's managed to do something which has got him to the chair, and the next time the apraxic controller takes over and he doesn't do it. So like two cogs coming together, they do occasionally, but not always. Okay, because the connections don't allow them to do that. So the brain-body disconnect of apraxia explains many of the things that you're seeing, because they're irregularly irregular, not consistently irregular, not consistently constant. Mm-hmm. So those things are happening, and it's like the mind of the brain-body disconnect. The brain and the mind is going, I want to do that. It knows. They know. They are smart people. Mm-hmm. They are smart. They are at minimum the same as everybody else of their age, and if you open your eyes, they're way beyond them. Okay? So that's the presumed competence, belief and love piece is where they're the golden keys. That's what works. It's written in everything. And if you can see through that moment of understanding the opportunity, it's there.
Thank you, mate. My head's falling off.
Bloody hell.
Oh.
That is a lot to take in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting.
Thank you, mate.
Greatly appreciated.